I am Iron Man.
Every single detail of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is painstakingly planned out over years. Even right now, I bet Kevin Feige has a rough idea of what the MCU will look like in 2031. That's why it's so funny that some of the best MCU moments were the ones made up on the day of the shoot. What were they? Let's get into it right now. It should come as no surprise that Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson had too much fun together on the set of Loki. Apparently, one of the fan favorite lines was all improvised between the two of them.
Do you have candy on Asgard? Yeah, grapes, nuts. Oh, you're so bitter.
When Mobius asks Loki if Asgard had any candy, he responds that they had grapes and nuts, secretly explaining why he's been evil this whole time. This line was Hiddleston's idea, and fans have had a ton of fun referencing it with memes, grape nuts cereal, and even Legos. Man, I really hope that jet skis line was Owen Wilson's idea, because that's just too perfect. Florence Pugh proved that she was more than worthy of filling Scarlett Johansson's shoes as the new super spy Black Widow. While she showed just how her fight scene skills are comparable to Johansson's, I think she may have proven that she's far funnier than the OG Black Widow. My favorite joke in the entire movie is the one where Yelena makes fun of Natasha's famous Black Widow pose. Evidently, this came from a conversation she had with the stunt coordinator, who told her that most superhero poses and landings would be dangerous and impractical in real life. Solid gold, I tell you. Not all improvisations are jokes an actor throws in. Sometimes the deep character history a devoted actor creates can lead to truly poignant moments. This was the case when David Harbour pitched that Alexei played the song American Pie for Yelena whenever she was upset. He actually came up with the idea when he and adult Yelena had their big confrontation. They then added it to the flashback sequence to make sure that it was as sweet a moment as possible. I mean, so really, he's the one I have to blame for that song being stuck in my head for months now. Few pairs in the MCU have had the chemistry that Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan do. Ever since their hilarious car bit from Captain America's Civil War, Disney has made sure to put them together for every interview they could. When the two were given their own TV show, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there was no doubt that hilarious moments were on the way. The funniest bit was the awkward therapy session that had the two interlock their legs and stare into each other's eyes. Well, apparently this bit was just Mackie and Stan's chemistry taking over, and a lot of it was improv. And also apparently they've been reading my fanfic, so that's a win for me. Everyone is talking about that surprise cameo at the end of Loki. Jonathan Majors shocked every MCU fan out there by appearing as a variant of Kang the Conqueror. He Who Remains, unlike Kang, was an ancient being who had given up his eons-long duty of culling the multiverse. While Majors mostly played into his character's wariness, there was one moment where he showed how spry the old variant still was. When he jumps on the desk to explain how the TVA works, it was an improv that the crew had to adapt to. The director was floored by the moment and made sure it was perfectly captured, and I think it's one of the best moments from that long monologue. I loved Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Sam's triumphant Captain America moments, the introduction of Isaiah Bradley, and Bucky's looking strong John are all MCU gold. That being said, there was one moment of true perfection that no showrunner could have ever planned. Of course, I'm referring to Zemo's legendary club dance. It shouldn't be surprising to anyone that this dance was 100% Daniel Bruhl. Clearly, he is the Marvel Cinematic Universe's most underrated talent. If you haven't seen his Suits-Kuvia commercial, it's the same kind of energy as his dance, so check that out. The single greatest bait and switch the MCU has ever pulled was when it seemed for half a second that the Evan Peters Quicksilver from the 20th Century Fox universe was crossing over into WandaVision. While that didn't pan out how anyone quite expected, there was an accidental reference to a funny piece of trivia concerning Peters and the MCU Quicksilver, Aaron Taylor Johnson. Both appeared in a superhero movie whose title I can't say without getting demonetized. It rhymes with Kick-sass. Anyway, Elizabeth Olsen accidentally used this expletive, accidentally dropping it in one of WandaVision's funniest references. Is there anything about Tom Hiddleston's Loki that's not iconic? Ever since he first appeared in Thor, the God of Mischief has been one of the MCU's best characters. His horns, his costume, and that long, inky black hair of his were all perfectly designed. There is one trick of his that was nothing but pure accident, though. During the filming of Thor Ragnarok, Hiddleston did the knife flip without really thinking about it once he was done with his choreography for a fight scene. It's become his signature move, much to the actor's pain. It had to be recreated for the television series, which evidently required a ton of practice with wooden spoons to get it right. Tom Hiddleston, there's no one to blame for that but yourself. Captain Mar-Vell was just as much an origin story for Nick Fury as it was for Carol Danvers. Samuel L. Jackson, who may end up playing the character long after every other Marvel actor has quit, had a lot of fun playing his younger self. During the alien autopsy scene, apparently it was his idea to lift up the blanket to see what a Skrull looked like naked. The director liked it so much that it was the take they used. Now it all makes sense why he's cruising around space on a vacation with a ship full of Skrulls. Florence Pugh certainly did her research when it came to playing the younger sister of Natasha Romanoff. This became clear when Yelena's surrogate father Alexei asked her a crude question about her menstrual cycle after she punched him in the face. She responded by going into great detail about the procedure all widows had to go through, as demonstrated in Avengers: Age of Ultron. Well, apparently that was Pugh's idea. It was not only a great callback, but a poignant moment for the scene which reminded audiences just how monstrous their treatment was at the hands of the Red Room. The cast of Black Widow had a lot of fun together. Their familiar chemistry was pretty much everyone's favorite part of the movie. This reached its highest point in the family's awkward dinner sequence. While the scene was scripted, apparently a great deal of it was improvised. The funniest bit of the scene was when Alexei described how Natasha and Yelena would hunt for Santa Claus every Christmas. Apparently this was pulled from David Harbour's extensive character background he did. I don't know about you, but I want to read that character background right now. Not all improvisations come from cast members during shooting. During the filming of Thor Ragnarok, Chris Hemsworth, Taika Waititi, and Tom Hiddleston were all improvising constantly. One of the best lines from the film didn't come from any of them, though. Apparently, a visiting kid from the Make-A-Wish Foundation suggested to Hemsworth that he tell everyone that Hulk was a friend from work. This line was not only so funny that it made it into the final cut, but they put it in the movie's first trailer. It still makes me laugh. Good job, kid! Avengers: Endgame isn't really known as the funniest MCU movie. That being said, one of its opening scenes features a truly endearing scene between Tony Stark and Nebula. The two bonded so much that Tony taught Nebula how to play paper football. Well, Karen Gillan told everyone that this sequence was improvised by the two actors. Not only was it a hilarious scene, but it was one of Nebula's sweetest moments. You can tell just how happy she was to win the game since she spent her entire life losing every single competition with Gamora. This was clearly a big deal for her. It's one thing when a Marvel actor improvises a dramatic moment, it's another thing when two actors do pretty much the same thing.
The new king?
Both Anthony Hopkins and Winston Duke both cut someone off with a guttural animal noise that was completely unscripted, taking their co-stars by surprise. I didn't realize M'Baku and Odin had so many things in common, did you? Robert Downey Jr. and Tom Holland are well known for their improvised scenes together. Going all the way back to their first scene where Tom forgot his blocking, RDJ jumped on this mistake by staying in character to tell him to move his leg.
I'm gonna sit here so you move the leg.
This trend kept rolling along when Tom went for a hug with him while Downey opened the door for him. The best of their improv moments came when Tom did the impossible and made up that entire dusting scene that broke everyone's heart. After finding all this information out, I'm pretty sure the MCU could have saved millions of dollars by just having Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. do whatever they wanted all day on a green screen and then cut it into a movie. I'm pretty sure that would have been just as good.